Hello, everybody. Thank you for returning to our YouTube channel. My name is Brian. This is Matthew Creedican, former Navy SEAL. We're with Technology United for Ukraine. So if you'd like to volunteer, we bring innovative technologies to the Ukrainian military, civilian population. You can be anybody, engineer, scientist, or just somebody who wants to help us out. Links in the description. All right, let's get right into this, Matthew. What I'll do is share the screen here with everybody. And there was some interesting things that have developed. I have some maps here, and we can kind of look at where the Ukrainians are now. Let me get my pen here. All right. So it looks like with where the engagements are happening, Matthew, is out here. There has been contact. Over here, there has been contact. And over here. Now, one of the things that's interesting is we have a video which I can show of a Ukrainian soldier all the way out here. So, I mean, that's a significant amount of push into the Kursk region. What are your thoughts now on how they're moving? I mean, definitely looks like they're looking to take and occupy this land. What do you see developing now, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're doubling down and pushing more troops forward. Some of those videos that one up north, I think it's hard to say exactly when that video was taken. Was that taken near the beginning where they could have just run some recon units, fed them up the road, and laid some ambushes, or is that like a recon and forward? And they're kind of laying in wait to ambush things while additional forces come forward. It's all speculation
Yeah.
at this point, but it's the Russians are saying they're stabilizing stuff, but there still seems to be enough video coming out that definitely not fully stabilized by any means, and it is expected that things would stabilize to some degree, but yeah, I guess just kind of remains to be seen. Remains to be seen how much the Ukrainians can push additional supplies and systems into those areas. I think there's been a number of videos of Russian artillery systems that have been smashed, presumably by reconnaissance units, maybe some air units. It definitely looks like the Russians have smashed some of their own stuff on accident, which is excellent. And I think generally this kind of attack favors the attacker. It's easier to coordinate where and what you're doing than it is to coordinate a vast area of defenders and everything coming in to support them. So giving your guys some time hack of when not to shoot stuff down, although difficult, may be doable where you're flying sorties. And let's just put it this way: when a attack fighter jet's coming in over the treetops, it's pretty hard to tell whose side it's on, nose on or tail away. And for the fighter jets, I think it's pretty hard to determine who's who on the ground, even if it is distinctly NATO thing. There's quite a bit of friendly, well, I don't know, quite a bit. There's definitely some friendly fire in the first and second Gulf War at the beginning of the invasion on what are distinctly NATO shaped targets. But you come hurtling over the trees at 700 miles an hour, you don't have a lot of time to distinguish a box in a field versus another thing. So yeah, I mean, keep the Ukrainians keeping up their mobility and hit and run attacks and being able to launch multiple systems in different angles and attack paths will just create maximum confusion. Yeah, so it kind of remains to be seen. It's just real hard to tell what exactly they have stabilized and how.
So right here,
organized the
Matthew, I
Russians
wanted to
are.
show you
Yep.
this. Right here. This is where the Russians are supposedly digging in. There's a satellite images of it, but what's interesting is we did see the video. We have a video here, and I'll show everybody this this video out in, I don't know how to say this town, but this is a soldier that's out there. So it's interesting. They're digging in. I mean, like you said, is this guy special forces guy. And this would be the video of him saying where he is. And that's in Lugov, Kursk Overblast. And this is the sign. So interesting. But let me just pull this up again and get your take on what's happening with them building their defensive perimeter. So this will look like what we know what the perimeter will look like. What are
Yeah,
your
I mean,
thoughts?
that's about right because that's the main road there. If you see it, so that's going to be the most easy path to move your troops rapidly to a defensive point, right? You got to get them deployed quickly, and if you have to push them out to a bunch of local roads and down farm fields and coordinate, that's going to take a while. But if you just pop them right off the main road, and you just drive down the main road and jump off, start digging a ditch, it's probably not a bad plan just to get something done, some blocking position in the area. And then you can start constricting and trying to push back. So, I mean, that would be my assumption of what they're doing, just given that line you're drawing. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, you're right. It is the road here. I should draw this a little better. Like you're exactly right. It looks like they're building them along the roads right here. That's exactly what they're doing. So there was some other interesting stuff that came
yeah, I
out.
mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
well, yeah. So if you could, can you draw like a 10-kilometer line just so everyone can see what 10 kilometers looks like on that map, or make it
Sure.
20 or 30, whatever makes most sense.
Let me do this here. I'll go to deep state so I can actually draw it right here. So if we're looking, it would be we're right about Lagov is here, Laguv, whatever, and that would be about I think like maybe right here. Nope, that's 32, a lot more further. So let me blow this up a little bit more so perspective is better. So maybe right to here. About 11, yeah. So roughly about this distance right here. Let me blow it up a little bit more. So here are the roads that we were looking at, and this would be 10 miles, or 10 kilometers, 11, a little over. And these are the roads here that we were mentioning. So what are your thoughts on this?
In what regard?
Well, what do you think the Ukrainians' plans are? Do you think they'll have to obviously they're going to meet this head on? Do you think that they'll stop? Do you think they'll go through
Just
this?
in regards to that defensive line.
Yeah, do you think they're going to bash through it, or do you think they'll stop and say, all right, this is what we've captured and we'll stop at this point?
It's like too hard to say what exactly they'll do. I mean, one of the things they definitely will probably do is move their artillery up to be able to strike that, bring a resupply along that road. Anybody that wants to drive down it gets hit, whether that's artillery or mobile, like drone artillery, either or. Yeah, so it's kind of a race now as to like who can move what where, and then how well they're able to mitigate Russian attack aircraft, and how well the Russians are able to mitigate Ukrainian attack aircraft. And obviously, it's probably a little bit easier ultimately for the Russians since you're kind of going into a pocket where those fighters or the bombers need to operate kind of inside Russian territory. So it's probably unlikely there's a lot of support there. But we'll see if the Ukrainians. I mean, there was some explosions in one of the nearby airfields. I think yesterday they sent some drones to one of those bases that have the.
You mean the one outside of Moscow?
MiG-31s.
Was it the one outside of Moscow you're talking about?
Yeah, it's up around. I think it's somewhere up around there. But I mean, it looked like there's some good secondaries coming from the light show that you could see in the video footage.
So this would be what you're talking about, I think, right here. Yesterday there was massive explosion. They sent now it could be another place. They're hitting everywhere right now, but this is just outside of Moscow. And I think the name of it is, let me see here. That base was Sava
Right.
Silika, something like that. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Ukrainians want to keep up at least some amount of consistent attacks on those, or be threatening them, just to keep the Russians with their aircraft stationed further back, which means their whole round trip's going to be longer. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, obviously, at those attacks, they're not intercepting those. If they are intercepting them, they're intercepting them right over the airfield, which is not ideal for them. But that's it's one way to keep them. You just keep flying your bombers, your low cost drones into those areas and threatening. Even if you estimate like their takeoff attack cycles, you can kind of estimate times when you want to arrive, just to put the threat level up on them and basically disallow them from using those bases. Yeah.
So let me get your thoughts on something.
So go ahead.
Sorry, you cut out. I apologize. You cut out for a second.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just so everybody knows this isn't the best connection. So if there's a little silence, sometimes it's just the connection. Obviously, Matthew's over in Ukraine doing some things, and it's not always the best connection. But so we know the F-16. They're talking a lot about the AMRAAM missile system, and that primarily is an air-to-air missile, correct? I mean, that's mostly what it's used for. Do you see it playing a part? Because I think maybe the ones we gave them probably only go 30 or 40 kilometers. Do you think that's going to have an impact on anything, or is it just not long enough?
I mean, it'll have some impact, and this is where I'm a little bit out of my depth on like fighter engagement envelopes and stuff like that. You could probably get somebody that plays that simulator game DCS, and they'll probably have a lot better opinion on the threat envelopes of these different missiles and speed and height of engagement and all that stuff. I expect it to have some. I think it's block B, or no, which one is it? The C variant that's upgraded to go 50% further, so it's going out to like 100 plus kilometers. You'd have to look at the systems. Like there's some debate online, I know, about which missiles they're giving them. My guess is they have an abundance of the lower cost ones, because they're being phased out, and they're going to have to be decommissioned. So they'll probably dump a bunch of those into the market, even if they're used to take out Shaheeds and other low cost stuff.
Well, that's interesting. Something. So you could see them being used against Shaheeds. That's actually, I didn't even think about that.
Possibly, just because if you have a whole bunch that are getting decommissioned and you don't have anything to shoot them at, I mean, might as well. And it's probably like a training sortie anyways. You get to fly, test out your systems and zap a few Shaheed like things, just as a warm up. Yeah. So I mean, the longer range you have, the way better off you're going to be for defending Ukrainian territory, and push those glide bombers back. So, yeah, there's if they light them up, like how good the radars are on those F-16s, again, debatable. Probably not the best radars, which means they're going to have something to track the incoming bombers from the Russians. They can light them up, lock on, and push the missile out. Well, those missiles do have their own seeking capability, so maybe you can get an understanding of where the enemies are, and then just like not fully blindly, but just kind of lob one out into the general direction. Maybe it'll pick something up, and if they see it coming their way, there's a good chance they might just turn tail and run, which means they're not dropping their payload right away. But again, like the fighter guys are gonna probably have a lot better opinions on like the specifics of engagement ranges. Um,
Now, let me ask you a question where they've pushed into Russia. Now, I'm not sure if they can use the F 16s on Russian territory. I don't know if that's been talked about. It may have been. Somebody can put that in the comments. But if they can get in there, boy, they could really reach out to hit some of them aircraft deploying those glide bombers from where they're at right now, correct? Whoops. Looks like we lost Matthew. He's back. Let's get him back on here. Lost you for a second there.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with this connection.
It's just the connection. But so I was asking, I'm not sure about whether they can use the F-16 on Russian territory yet, but if they can, with these ARAM, can they will be able to reach significantly far in there and hit these glide bomb aircraft dispensing the glide bombs, right?
I mean, yeah, to some degree. Like again, I'm imagine the newer one, the newer variant that goes 100 plus kilometers is going to be significantly better for that kind of operation.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and like again, like this is where you start having to draw threat envelopes on tabletops and what's a S500, what's a S400 threat range, and what altitude can you fly? What altitude are they flying to release the glide bombs? And does it help to fire the missile from higher altitude, mid altitude? Can you fire it from low altitude from the treetop level, and then to reduce your threat from their S7 or 500, 400 variants? Yeah, those are all questions that I could speculate on, but don't really know the answer to.
Right. And then I wanted to put something else out to everybody. It was interesting. Senator Lindsey Graham stated, he said, if you're a retired F-16 pilot and you're looking to fight for freedom, they will hire you here in Ukraine. Very interesting. I could imagine how fast the experience level of the Ukrainian Air Force will go if they have high level former F-16 pilots. Now, is that illegal though? Could they actually go fly an F-16 for a foreign country? Do you know if there's any issue with that?
Oh, it's like one of those things. If a bunch of Karens want to make it an issue, of course it'll be an issue. If they want to kind of turn a blind eye and like sign some paperwork to not make an issue, they can make it a not issue. I don't really feel that's that's kind of an administration decision. If they want to just bless it, they probably can. If they want to pretend that they can't and say no, and then that's yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's probably just up to the administration. If they want to push and pressure against it, they probably can find some way to do it because there's a bunch of ITAR rules that if you wanted to go Karen mode, uh, this is a whole problem. This brings up whole ITAR shit. Like there's a lot of ITAR stuff that's not really applied ITAR, but it could be. There's basically enough gray area in ITAR. International Trade and Arms, I think is what it stands for. Regulation, arms regulation. It's something trade and arms, something like this. But anyway, it's the laws that govern distribution of weapons, or not even weapons, just technologies that would be bad if they got out into the general military space, like not controlled by the U.S. or allies. So everything from level 4 body armor to different radio systems to different types of weapon systems, it's all falls under ITAR regulations. And some stuff falls under other types of regulations. But so, if they have like an ANPQ2 radar over here, like that's probably an ITAR thing, and they had to get a waiver for it. So if you're a fighter pilot over there and you've been trained in certain techniques and tactics, like applying, teaching, showing those tactics, could be
Mm.
considered an ITAR thing, and you'd have to get a waiver for it. Of which the administration could do it quite quickly, I believe, if they really wanted to. Um, and then like
Oh, sorry, everybody. We lost Matthew again. Definitely tough connection over in Ukraine right now with everything going on. It's